Number 5, sways. Now this action is related to our pendulum swing. So if you can imagine a fixed point, of course swinging kind of like a grandfather clock, okay? That is our sway. So I'd like to just back the camera so you can have a better vantage point here. Now, sway is an inclination of the body from the inside edge of the standing leg. So for this example, I'd like you to stand on your left leg, and I'd like you to use the left leg as a lever. So I'm thinking from my ankles through my knee and thigh and hip, I'm using that as a lever to send my right side, my leg and my foot out ahead of me. So you can see I'm picturing that the fixed point in the beginning position is above me. As I use my left leg as a lever, now that fixed point is diagonally to my left. Now I'm going to maintain that angle as I step to a closed position. Now I lower and level off. Now I'm going to use my right leg as a lever. So my fixed point is above me. As I use my right leg as a lever, now that fixed point moves diagonally to my right. And now I close my feet. Now the object in this is to create, again, those blocks of weight in a lined up diagonal. So what we want to try and think of is whatever angle we need in terms of our sway for a particular figure. Do not be afraid to let the head line up in the same angle as the body and the leg and the foot. Okay, quite often in terms of a man's head styling, we're afraid to let the head shape into a sway. So this would be incorrect. If I face the camera and I dance a sway, my right leg goes out ahead of me and my head tries to stay level. So when we have a sway, whether it's left or right, allow the head to become involved in the angle and line of the sway, provided you still stay counterbalanced with your partner. Okay, quite often if you use the head too much, the lady may say that you're on her side. So basically that doesn't mean that you stay level or straight. It means that you have to adjust how much angle your head is achieving. Now, those of you that have been criticized for breaking a side at one point in your dancing, what I'd like to give you an illustration of is this. If you can imagine a ruler is basically 12 inches on both sides. If I tip it on a diagonal, it's still 12 inches on both sides. It doesn't mean that just because I've tilted it on an angle, it means it's 12 inches on one side and 10 on another. Okay, so both sides are equal. So quite often when we sway, no matter what the angle is, we're afraid that one side is going to break. So I'd like to define what breaking a side means. And that is where one side shortens. So you can see I'm swaying now from only my waist area. Okay, so that is a broken sway. Or if I go the other direction, you can see that is a broken sway. So if we go back to the original definition of sway, which is an inclination of the body from the inside edge of the standing leg, and I use my left leg as an example, I'm using my ankle, my knee, my thigh, and my hip as a lever to incorporate the entire body, and no matter what angle we may achieve or need for a particular figure, that is how we're going to stay in balance and counterbalance a turn. So sway is not just cosmetic, but it helps us counterbalance the force of a turn. So if I use a reverse turn as an example, and I put a lot of power into the movement and I don't sway, chances are I'm going to fall to the right. So sway is a very important ingredient in allowing us to counterbalance the angle and shape of the movement. So from here, as I rotate and sway, that stops me from falling in the direction that I was traveling. So sway is very, very important in terms of balancing our feet as we come to a collecting position. Now I'd like to show you how we're going to connect our ranges of motion and sway together to get a more fluid movement and, of course, greater counterbalance and shape. Okay? So we're going to use our range of motion from, in this case, from 3 to 1. We're going to dance a left box turn or a reverse turn in waltz for international. So we have our rotation through our range of motion from 3 to 1. Now, when I land on count 1, I'm going to feel that that is the axis point of the turn, and I'm going to feel my left shoulder and hip are slightly lower than my right side. That is going to be the overlapping point from our range of motion into our pendulum action, okay, our sway. So I'm going to lower, again, from 3 to 1. As I dissolve the sway, as I land on 1, I'm going to the inside of turn. I'm going to feel that on count 1, my right shoulder, hip, and foot are a little bit lower than my left side. That allows my left leg to swing out ahead of me, and now I can close my feet. So it's very, very important that in talking about the sway, that we begin the sway at the correct point in time, and we also dissolve it at the correct point in time. Because when that action is used at the improper time, it's going to throw us off balance. So I'd like to review that again, if I may. So I'll just back the camera. So from here, from 3 to 1, we're dissolving the prior sway, and we're initiating our range of motion. As I land on count 1, you're going to notice my left shoulder and hip are a little bit lower than my right side. You can see my head's angling through a diagonal. I then allow my right leg to swing out ahead, and now I can have my side close. So finding that axis point is very important for beginning the sway. So this would be incorrect. If I use a range of motion, and you can see my head and body are angling slightly to the right, my leg goes out ahead of me, and then I sway, that is going to disrupt the flow and the balance of our movement. So it's very important that you find the axis point of the turn, which in our basic action of 1, 2, 3 will be count 1. 1. You can see it's anchoring down. It allows me to swing the right leg out ahead of me. 2, and here's 3. From 3 to 1, I level off. Dissolving the sway, I rotate through the hip, through my range of motion. I find the inside of the turn, which is my anchor point 1. You can see my right shoulder and hip are a little lower than my left. It allows the left leg to move out into our swaying action, side and close. We dissolve again. 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, if we were dancing foxtrot, the axis point would be on the slow. So if I just dance slow, quick, quick, from here I'm going to go forward on my right foot. Here's the slow. I'm going to feel that my right shoulder, hip, and foot are a little bit lower than my left. I swing out ahead, quick, quick. Now from here the axis point will be my left side, slow, quick, quick, slow, quick, quick. So as you can see, I'm using a range of motion from the quick to the slow, finding my axis point. That enables me to join and overlap into the swaying action. So that way it's a very smooth transition. It anchors our weight and enables us to not only give the lady a better lead, but again, our counterbalance and weight is moving at the correct point in time. And that is your sway.